Hello, my name is Tawana Roberts, and I'm the CEO and founder of Roberts TLA here in Houston, Texas. I wanted to do this video really quick to just share with you a couple changes that have occurred in the CDL industry, okay? This is a new rule that has been implemented effective February 7th, 2022, and it's called the new ELDT Theory Training Course that is now mandated and required for anyone seeking to obtain their new CDL Class A, that's seeking to obtain their new CDL Class B, or anyone that's looking to upgrade their Class B to a CDL A, or anyone that's seeking to apply for their first time endorsement for their school bus, passengers, or hazardous material endorsement. We have this training curriculum here at Roberts TLA. We are here to serve you. We want to make sure that you're informed. We want to make sure that you're aware of all of these new guidelines, policies, and procedures. And we want to make sure that we implement the top state-of-the-art type of training. Our training is 100% online. The ELDT theory training consists of 48 learning modules that will have to be completed, all modules at an 80%, in order for you to proceed with your local DPS office to obtain your CLP, which is your commercial learner's permit. We also have the full curriculum on the hazmat endorsement, which is going to be 13 learning modules, which also has to be completed before you can proceed with your state level DPS office to take the state exam. Here at Roberts TLA, our number one goal is to give you information, to make sure you feel confident and secure in anything that you learn with us. And we're here to serve you. So if you or anyone you know are seeking to get and apply for your new CDL driver's license, look no further. We offer this training. We are a registered TPR provider for the Federal Motor Carriers Safety Administration, and we're here to serve you. So click the link below, register today at robertstla.com. That's right. If you register, we will return your inquiry within 24 to 48 hours, get you set up to our online portal that will give you everything you need to move forward so that you can enjoy and start your new career in the transportation industry. Thank you.
Well, hello. Happy Sunday to you guys. Thank you guys for joining in on the talk this evening. We're going to be talking about just news you can use tonight. Just taking a break. Not really a break. If I had somebody, I would have interviewed them, but I don't. So we're going to talk about some of the stuff in the news that I talked about earlier in the week, which was, and I did some more digging on this. Werner is given a 5-year exemption by the FMCSA to allow commercial learner permit holders to drive a truck without a CDLA holder in the passenger seat. What's up, Joshua? Hey, man, good to see you, bro. Hey, man, you be on it, bro. You trying to get it, ain't you? You trying to get it. Hey, man, like I said, I see you passionate about this. I see you doing a lot of research, which I'm glad that you're doing. Like I said, if you ever need us, I had put the information to the website last week. I'll put it in there again today. If you need a consult, get on there. We got the matter of fact, I try to put the calendar up in there too. Just set a time, man. We could talk. I mean, my consultations are 15 minutes free. You know, you can pick my brain about anything you wanna know about this trucking thing. What way you want to go, and that's what the podcast is all about. You know what I mean? Just getting new drivers in, making sure they're making the right moves. Just offer some of the things that we've already went through, trying to help you guys not to take those same pitfalls we took. So that's all it is, man. But I surely appreciate your support, brother. I surely appreciate your support. And if you want to, keep chiming in, ask me questions, and I will answer them, whether here or behind the scenes. And remember, for all you don't know, the email is freighttrappingpodcast@gmail.com. You can drop those questions, anything you want to know about a past podcast, a past guest that you would like to get in contact with. I'll get you those that information behind the scenes, and you can contact them, and they can set you up on their schedule, because I don't want to give out people personal messages, but I know emails are fine. And this is what it's all about here on the podcast. And so tonight I'm just going to sit behind this mic and just kind of look in this camera and just kind of talk about some things, like I said, that I seen in the news this past week. It's two topics I'm going to jump into. The first one is Werner, the 5-year exemption that they have for their commercial learners permit holders to be able to drive in a truck without a CDL holder in the passenger seat. Now, somebody said something on TikTok that made me to go dig a little deeper into this. Well, I was going to dig a little deeper anyway, but he said something about they've been doing that. And see, for me, when I read the article, it's a slap in the face to me, because as I went through and did a little digging on some other articles, did a little bit of research, I found that other companies have been doing this since 2015. And we'll get into the article. We'll get into that when I read you guys the article. But it's a slap in the face. I never knew. I've been playing by the rules the whole time when it comes to this transportation stuff. Getting everything that I need, doing everything the way I'm supposed to do it, doing everything the way FMCSA wrote it up, making sure I'm in compliance. And it's a slap in the face just to know that all this time that I've been doing things the right way, you've allowed companies to do these things the wrong way. And on TikTok, we got a lot of political comments. We got a lot of political ideas, opinions, and that's what this is. This is just my opinion. Nothing is fact on this podcast. Well, it is fact, but it's my opinion. It's an opinional fact, right? So what we're gonna do? We're gonna dive into that part, and then we're gonna dive into FMCSA not wanting to stand tall on English only testing when it comes down to obtaining your CDL. You know, I have a certain opinion about a lot of stuff that goes on with the government and all of that kind of stuff. When FMCSA and SLC, they're going to insert themselves when they need to. But when it comes down to standing tall on what America is built on, which America is built on English speaking, English writing, and when it comes to that, they didn't stand tall on that. They're not standing tall on that. That they turned into a melting pot. But then you want to turn around and then blame somebody like a Rogel who didn't have to take the test in English. He could take it in his own language. But you want to blame him for having an accident in Colorado when actually it was your fault. It was actually your fault. Because you allowed whatever state he was from, and I'm not going to say, I know, but I'm not going to say, to be in control of whether or not he took the test in English or in his native language or in his natural language, whether it be Spanish, German, or whatever. But we're going to dig into that. That's what we're going to dig in tonight. And I'm going to reset the podcast real quick for anybody who new to the podcast. This is the Freight Trapping Podcast, where we cast our net trying to help you guys navigate through the world of transportation, the world of CDL life, the world of becoming a professional driver, not just a truck driver. Yeah, cast your net. See, the net is the trap. See, everybody, we named it there just to get your attention. See, we casting our net. We cast our net every day to get out there and go find loads to feed our family. And the loads is the fish. We cast our net to catch loads, to catch fish, to feed our families, to build our legacy, to make sure the ones that we love are okay. But I sit behind this mic giving my opinions, and then I talk to truckers. That's another thing. I talk to truckers. I talk to new inspiring truckers. I talk to new dispatchers. I talk to new brokers. I talk to new freight agents. I talk to new shippers. I talk to new commodities brokers. I talk to new financial advisors. I talk to new mental health experts, because it takes all of that to help truckers stay safe and keep their right mind and not lose their mind because either they're on the road or they're in a difficult situation or they do whatever. You got a lot of people out there. You got Miss Pamela Baby. I interviewed her. She has her own nonprofit, for mentoring truckers. You got people out there that's gonna be there for you. I might miss you, but they gonna pick you up. They might miss you, but I'll pick you up. And that's the web that we build in this trucking thing. And I'm not gonna say it's just for the culture of black culture. This is a culture that entails everybody. Not just black, not just white, not just Mexican, not just Chinese, not just Arab, not just Indian. Transportation, it encompasses everybody. And everybody needs help at some point in this game. And wherever your point at, you can go back and look at some of the older videos. I don't care if nobody comes in here. I'm going to still put this content up, and I'm going to allow you to go back and look at it. Because that's what I do. That's what the podcast is about. Me just sitting behind the mic, behind the mic, looking into a camera, and talking, bringing up information that otherwise you wouldn't even pay attention to. Hopefully, I bring up some information. If you know about it and you want to speak on it, you're more than welcome to come on and speak on it. Let me tell you something. This is not a podcast where I look down on anybody. I don't look down on anybody in the game. I don't care where you are. If you're just not trying to get your license, if you're just not trying to get your CDLA, if you're trying to get your CDLP, if you've been in the game for 30 years, if you've been in the game for 60 years, if you've been brokering for 80 years, if you've been doing whatever in this transportation industry, all your experiences are valid on this platform. My experience is not bigger than yours. Your experience is not bigger than mine, or hers, or his. It is all a part of growing in the industry. And I welcome you. Hit me up on the freighttrapping@gmail.com. Tell me, hey man, I love to talk to you and just tell you my story, tell you my journey, get your perspective on some things. I'll be like, okay, let's talk about it. Pick a date, and you on. I'll highlight your career. And if you're just not getting into the game and you want, hey, I'll highlight your career from moving from one career into CDL. There's plenty of things to talk about. Life is to talk about. This is not just a career. Trucking is a way of life, because out there on that road, you got to make that truck your home. If you're doing a week out, 3 days out, if you got a bed on your truck, you got to make that truck your home. That's your life. So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to get out of here early. I'm not going to be here long. I'm going to tap into these topics. I'm going to give my opinion. If no one jumps in and wants to cam up or whatever the case may be, I will. I'll just move on. Move on through expeditiously with what we're talking about, and then I'll be out the way. I'll upload it, and everybody can go back and listen to the rebroadcast. I know it's a Sunday. I know it's most of the time it's what's that? Oh man, no wonder. It's family day. But I do this, put content up, and then, it is what it is. It's there when you need it. Right? Yeah, it's there when you need it. And also I want to say shout out to this organization, Miss Nietzsche Colbert, Exceeding Autism. Man, what a fabulous gala on yesterday. I was presented with the Exceeding Heroism Award from the organization. I had no idea. My wife knew. I didn't know. But I was completely honored and thankful for somebody to recognize, what you do, and give you a small token, a big token in my eyes, but a token of their appreciation for being who you say you're going to be. And yes, that's Exceeding Autism. I am going to create, and as a matter of fact, that's probably going to be my next big podcast. I'm going to get with her to see, and her and my wife, because they're good friends, to see if we can do that, because I know there's some trucker out there with a child that has the gift of autism. Yeah, I say gift because autism is a gift. You're different. And God loves you. So it's a gift that these parents nurture. It's a way of life. And everybody can't do it. But the ones God chose to do it, he knew what he was doing. And these kids with autism, they have a gift. Young lady preached this. I mean, she didn't preach. She prayed this morning. She said, thank you, God, for the gift that you gave to the parents with children that have autism. So this is Blue Month for autism. Blew it out for autism. I'm gonna see if I can get see if we can get Miss Colbert in the studio and see if she could talk to the truckers and about the organization that have kids with autism, who children are gifted with autism, and then we'll I think I'm going to make that happen. Yeah, because I appreciate that. I appreciate that award, that acknowledgement. Yeah. So moving on, let's jump right into this real quick. Let's jump into this article here before we get into the meat of what I was talking about last week. The article reads, FMCSA rejects group's unnecessary petition to require English-only CDL tests. Let's jump in. FMCSA has rejected a trucking group's request to require each state to administer all commercial driver's license testing in English only. And see, this was a surprise to me when I first read the article, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was always under the impression that all testing was in English, right? And y'all forgive me, this pollen got my allergies on. So I was thinking that they required. I don't know why, it just was common sense to me almost, that if you're in an English-speaking town or city or country and all of the traffic signs, everything that you're going to be up against in transportation is in English, then why wouldn't the testing be in English only? Why would I give you a test in German if all of the signs and all of the safety warning signs and be aware of this and all of the speed limit signs and all of the no left turn and all of that kind of stuff and all of the height requirements, low bridge, and if all of that stuff is in English, why would I give you a test in your language and then you're going to hit the street and you're not going to know what the words mean on those signs? We don't have stop signs in Portugal. We don't have stop signs in Japanese. We don't have stop signs in Spanish. We don't have stop signs. Why would I give you a test? And I'm thinking to myself, why wouldn't that be something that FMCSA says, you know what? For the safety of the public, you're absolutely right. But that's not what they said. That's not what they said. So let's read. In January, in the wake of the sentencing in the high-profile case of truck driver Rogel Lazario Aguilera Maderos, the Small Business and Transportation Coalition, SBTC, petitioned the FMCSA to initiate a rule making or preempt any state law which allows for CDL tests to be given in any language other than English. So this is what they used to call when we were in school, this is what they used to call a small interest group. But now they're called They're giving them, different titles. But the Small Business and Transportation Coalition petitioned the FMCSA in January to initiate making a rule to preempt, meaning tell any states before any state law which allow for CDL tests to be given in any language other than English. Preempt means to deny. Any state which allows for CDL testing to be given in any language other than English. I didn't see this petition. I don't know if they kept it under wraps. I don't know if they just didn't get it out there enough. I didn't know. You don't know about this stuff until FMCA makes a rule on it. And then the stuff they want you to know, they wait until after they passed it, like the ELDT. Nobody ever voted on that. FMCSA is an organization that where they can pass or reject the rule on their own. They don't have to be put on legislation. It don't have to be put on the ballot. But because of the high-profile case of Rogel, this Small Business Transportation Coalition decided, hey, we need to protect the public. That's what FMCSA does, right? That's why all of the laws that they come up with is to protect the public. The ELD that they're making everybody put into their truck is to protect the public. The DEF that they made us put on our trucks to save the pollution of the atmosphere is protecting the public, right? All of this stuff is to protect the public. They made you put that big unit on your truck so that your truck is not idling while you're sitting at a truck stop in order to keep your truck cool in the summer. That $3,000, $4,000 machine that now weighs 1,500 pounds, which adds to the weight of your truck, which takes away how many pounds you can carry on your trailer. They passed that in order to protect the public, right? Everything they do, they say it's to protect the public, right? It's to protect the public, right? But now when the Small Business Transportation Coalition asks them to protect the public, after what happened in Colorado, after those families have to bury their loved ones, because this rule that I thought was just common sense, that everything should be in, I thought everything was already in English. I guess I'm more naive to the rules than I think. But see, that's the purpose of this podcast, where you're naive and miss a rule. I come across it and bring it to your attention. That's the purpose. That's the only purpose. I'm not coming down on FMCSA. I'm not coming down on no law enforcement. I'm not coming down on no brokers. I'm not coming down on I'm not coming down on anybody. I'm just trying to give you news or articles or laws that have either been enacted, trying to go into action, go into play. I'm giving you the scoop on these laws. I'm not trying to attack nobody's channel. I'm not trying to troll nobody. I'm not trying to play nobody content. If it's content that's going to be relevant to the transportation industry, I'm putting it on here and I'm bringing it up. I'm not blasting FMCSA. All I'm saying is, why are we not trying to protect the public by making all testing totally English? Doesn't make any sense to me. If you have a school and you only testing in English, are you worried about losing that money? Some people are, but we not. We're not. I've seen accidents. I've seen people lose their lives. I've seen drivers, well, I've not seen, but I've heard drivers lose their lives. I heard, and they speak English. They speak English. Drivers lose their lives and they speak English and they read English and they write English in this country. What makes you think that somebody who doesn't has a chance to prevent an accident? What makes you think that? And that's the whole purpose of FMCSA. That's the whole purpose of that administration, is to make sure the public is safe. Everything they've implemented in this trucking industry is to make sure that the public's safe. Why not even listen? It shouldn't even be a reasoning. There's nobody sitting in that administration saying, hey man, these guys have a point. So guess what? The fact that Rogel Lazario Aguilera Medeiros couldn't read English, didn't speak English, needed an interpreter in the courtroom, the rule failed him. And the rule failed those lives that were tragically taken, and then the lives that were harmed. Because people on that highway, they're going to have PTSD from that. He's going to have PTSD from that. But the families are going to have PTSD from losing their loved ones the way they did. And then have PTSD from seeing the videos of their loved ones losing their lives. But that's why the public is supposed to be, FMCSA is supposed to be protecting the public. But by putting people behind the wheel of an 80,000-pound missile that can't speak English, can't write English, can't comprehend English, in an English-speaking country, you're protecting the highways? They shot these people down. The Small Business Transportation Coalition. They shot them down because they petitioned FMCSA to make it a rule. And then the article goes on to say, it says, there is no good reason why the United States of Transportation, USDOT, should not enforce its rule requiring English proficiency on knowledge exams by preempting those state laws and rules that conflict with the federal English proficiency standard. President James Lamb told Transportation News Network. He's the president of SBTC. Federal regulations do require CDL drivers be able to read and speak English, the English language, sufficiently to converse with the public. Hold on now. Wait. Let me get done. To converse with the public, to understand highway traffic signs and signals in the English language. But states are allowed to administer the knowledge test in a foreign language, provided no interpreter is used. Now, wait. Now, let me back up. Now, see, okay. So, boom, I'm wrong. Right? Hold on. Wait a minute. Contradiction at its best. Wait a minute. Hold on. I guess they rejected it on the basis of the federal, right here, it says federal regulations do require CDL drivers be able to read and speak the English language sufficiently. Okay, federal regulation. Now, I always thought that federal government overrides the state law. But I also know that some states are still independent. And so by them stating that the federal regulation requires it, they've left it up to the state to do or don't require it. Oh. So you kicking the can down the street. You're saying that we required it on our level, on the highest level, but when you start breaking it down on the lower level, we're going to leave it up to you. And if I'm correct, Roger was from Texas, driving through Colorado. I guess in Texas, they don't require you to read and speak English sufficiently to converse with the public and to understand highway traffic signs and signals in English. So the can's been kicked down the street, and now the states, the federal government, even though they require it and they mandate it, and the federal government, when FMCSA makes a rule, hence the ELDT, now all states got to adhere to all CDL, new CDL entry level training driver trainees. They have to have a class. They have to take a class before they can be considered a CLP holder, a commercial learner's permit holder. You have to have that class. But you can't make sure that they speak English, that these tests are put in English, that these training courses are in English. But you can mandate that they take these courses. But you can't mandate that they speak sufficient English. Sound like kicking the can to me. Sound like you pushing the buck down to the state level to me. But when it benefits you, but when it tells and says, hey, no, y'all need a training course. See, this is what they call the slippery slope. And people can say the incident in Colorado may or may not. It could have still happened, because accidents don't have a name on them. They can happen to anybody at any time. Accidents happen. But the way you try and to prevention is the word. The key word is prevent. The key word is prevention. When you're trying to prevent accidents, loss of life, when you're trying to prevent it, then stuff like the federal regulation requires you to speak and talk and read English language sufficiently. Why don't you make the states? That shouldn't even be a if and a but about that. It's already federally regulated. But then you turn around and federally regulate that you have to take an entry-level driver training course before you can even finish your commercial learner's permit. before you can even get behind the wheel of a truck to begin training behind the wheel. Regulations also disallow the use of an interpreter during CDL skills examination, requiring that neither the applicant nor the examiner may communicate in a language other than English. Wow. Wow. So when you get behind the wheel and you ready to take your driver's test, and that DOT examiner says, okay, do a brake check test for me. How do you understand if you don't speak English when the DOT examiner says, let's do a brake check, let's turn left, let's turn right, let's do a pre-trip, parallel park for me, do a 45-degree angle park, back straight for me. If you can't understand them communicating to you in English, and in a letter denying the SBTC's request, FMCSA acting administrator Robin Hutchinson said such actions were unnecessary to ensure public safety. Wow. You know why? It don't make them money. Agency regulations already require that CMV drivers have a certain level of English proficiency and require that states administer the skills test only in English, wrote Hutchinson. Thus, the initiation of the rulemaking you have requested is unnecessary. Yeah, it's unnecessary, but how does something like that happen where Rogel fell through the cracks? Because there's a crack in the rule. Everybody finds a crack in the rule. There's a crack in the rule. There's a loophole. And all they was asking you to do was close the loophole or make the regulation not so broad. Make it get straight to the point. But you don't want to do that. Further, Hutchinson said the SBTC failed to identify any state laws, regulation, policies, or practices that allow CMV drivers to drive without the required level of English proficiency or that permit administration of the skills test in English in a language other than English in conflict with FMC's regulation. Because you have not demonstrated that there are any state requirements to preempt, there is no basis for the agency to make a preemption determination. Okay. FMCSA denial is no surprise given that the agency has long asserted that the burden to determine a driver's ability to meet the English standard shall fall on the carriers which employ them rather than the state driver license agency. Wow. So now it falls on the carrier and not the state. Now the state of Texas requires you to take the test in English. See, what I've found is this. As a trainer, as a safety and compliance guy, what I've found is this. I can go to school. Well, I went to school. I can be certified through the state of Texas as a DOT recognized facility that administers the CDL test behind the wheel. I've been trained on state level to administer. I can even, if I didn't have my own schooling, I could probably go work for the DOT if they would hire me to administer the test. But because it's such a high demand, especially after COVID, after the pandemic, people are coming in droves trying to get their CDL. Even especially before the rule was supposed to go into effect February 7th, you have a lot of people was trying to get that done before their date. That way they didn't have to take that extra training course. So now I'm a third party testing site, and I can give tests to students, and my facility is recognized that when I sign your certificate saying that you passed all behind the wheel testing, maneuvering, driving on the highway, and all of that. Guess what? I'm bilingual, and I can speak to you in Spanish and English. I can speak to you in Japanese and German. I can speak to you in Swahili and in Arabic. Now I sign your test. All you got to do is walk in there and take your picture, and they put that A on your license, and now you're a CDL holder. But you don't speak no English. Why? Because the third party testing site gave you your test in your language. And that's where it comes in. That's where the problem comes in at. That's why FMCSA allows the state level to handle it. FMCSA requires it. But the state, they allow the state, and I understand that, you allow the state to handle it. The state is so overwhelmed, just like with the motorcycle license endorsement. They were so overwhelmed with trying to do CDL and motorcycle license. What they did was they like I just said, they trained and certified outside third party testers for motorcycle license to give the class and give the test and pass the students on their recommendation, on their testing, on their eyesight of them knowing how to drive a motorcycle, going through the courses. I took the course. Going through the courses and maneuvering that motorcycle in a way that was safe for the public and safe for them. And once they did that, they signed off on the certificate. They signed off on the little square certificate. I took it into DMV. I gave it to them. They said, thank you. Your license you'll receive your license in 2 to 6 weeks with the M on it. And I was good. It's the same thing for the CDL. They leave it up to the states. And so basically in the article, what Hutchinson was telling SBTC was, don't come to us, go to your states. But they went to FMCSA in order to make everything a federal law. They want it to make it needs to be mandated. It needs to be said you have no room. You can no longer give tests in any other language other than English. That's what SBTC was trying to do. I understand what they was trying to do. I understand what FMCSA was saying. We regulate that you give it in English. Our mandate says you give it in English, but we also have given the states the option to give it in English or the native language or in English. Which leads me to this. FMCSA grants Warner's request to allow CLP commercial learner's permit drivers to operate without a CDL holder in the passenger seat. Now, if you look at that title, you would just say, what? Just like I did. I said, what? And I made a video about it on TikTok. And I posted it on Instagram because I'm like, what? could that be? Once again, I did everything I was supposed to do to get my license. And now you're telling me that I have 3-6 months to drive a commercial vehicle with a CLP, commercial learning permit, without a CDLA holder in the passenger seat? Now the way it reads, the title reads is they don't have to be nowhere in the truck. They don't have to be in the passenger seat. And that piqued my interest because of the way the title it reads. That's how it reads. FMCSA grants Warner's request to allow CLP drivers to operate without a CDL holder in the passenger seat. Now, if you drive a day cab, you're saying if he's not in the passenger seat, where is he at? He's not in the truck if he's not in the passenger seat. He's not in the truck if he's in the trailer, and he better not be back in the trailer while I'm driving or anybody driving. But you got to understand that you have a sleeper on over-the-road trucks. On most over-the-road trucks. You got day cabs that go over the road too, but I'm just saying. You have a sleeper. So let's dig into the article, because this is something on TikTok that I got a lot of comments about. One brother on TikTok, let me see if I can pull him up, because I had yet to really dig into it when he made the comment, right? So let's see right here. Where is his name at? Hold on, y'all, because I want to give him, because he made me do Hazmat 1966. Bro, you and us drivers can talk about it till we blue in the face. It's not going to change. All right, that's not the one. I hope we can find it, because okay, right here, this brother CAF 0474, right? He said, Warner's exemption still requires them to have a CDL holder on the truck or in the truck with the CLP driver. Only one driver has to be on duty. Money talks. Okay. And that made me, okay, I said, okay, let me, because I did that while I was at work, so I started digging a little bit into the article, because I just kind of skimmed over the article at first, right? But it's still crazy to me that you would even have to, So it says the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has approved exemption requests from Warner Enterprises regarding permit holders. In a notice to be published in Federal Register on March 31st, the FMCSA announced its decision to grant Warner a 5-year exemption from the regulation that requires a commercial learner's permit holder operating a commercial motor vehicle to be accompanied by a commercial driver's license holder with the proper CDL class and endorsements in the passenger seat. Now, if you just read that, you'll do like I did. Okay, boom. What? What you doing? No, the public. What's happening? Nobody in the truck but the CLP holder? Whoa, what's going on? Woo, woo, woo. Pump your brakes. Woo. Right. Warner requested an exemption to allow CLP holders who have passed the CDL skills test but have not yet obtained the CDL document from their state of domicile to drive a CMV without having a CDL holder in the passenger seat. FMCSA has analyzed the exemption application and the public comments and has determined that the exemption, subject to the terms and conditions imposed, will likely achieve a level of safety that is equivalent to or greater than the level that would be achieved absent such the FMCSA exemption. When Warner filed the exemption request last summer, the company pointed to a generational driver shortage as a reason for the request. See, everybody jumping on driver shortage in order to get their agenda pushed. Everybody is going into these different lanes and trying to make sure that their company keeps moving using the fact that it's a driver shortage. No, drivers are choosing where they want to be. Drivers are choosing to be their own boss. Drivers are choosing not to be under these strenuous, strenuous contracts that most of these companies come up with. If I get my license, my CLP, I go through school through Warner or through a Snyder or Swift or Stewart Stevenson, Stevenson Transport, you're going to be under contract with them for a year in order to pay back that grant money that they got from the federal government for you going through that schooling. So then they'll say, hey, you got to drive for me for a whole year after this. I have several guys that went through those courses. And then what they'll say is, yeah, you're going to come in, you're going to be out a week and back, you're going to be out a month and back. But then once you get through going through their courses and doing what they, getting your license, what they'll say is, okay, now get out there. They get you out there and they'll say, okay, now you got to stay out there until we bring you back. You say, hey, man, I got an emergency, how I need to get back. Now you got to stay out there. What you going to do? Because you got to pay them back that money if you break the contract. So that's why a lot of these drivers, they say, man, make sure you read your contract. When you sign and they make it look so pretty, okay, oh, we're going to get you up to get your license and, we're going to make sure you get this grant money because that grant money goes straight to the company. In my eyes, they're double dipping because now that grant money or your federal aid money or your money that the federal government is helping you to get your license, guess what? If you went in and filled out your own paperwork, you'll still get that money. But because they're filling out the paperwork for you and they're going through a recognized school with the federal government, now you're paying them because they're recognized. So when you get your CDL and you're done, you can't just go work for somebody else. You got to work for us. Because the way they put it is that we got you that money. We paid for you to go to class, but in actuality, you got a federal grant from the government to train these drivers in these trucks. And now you're telling them that they have to pay you back the money that the grant gave you. Grant money is free. Just like you go to school and you get a Pell Grant, a Pell Grant pays for a portion of your schooling. But because now they've helped you get it, and then at some point they added something to it or whatever, now you have to pay them back the whole thing. If you decide not to stay on with them after you get your license. Because after you get your license, it ain't nothing they can do. They can't take their license back. Now they can put what you have on your credit and say you owe them that money for going to school there and not holding up to your contract that you signed. That's why people say read the contract. Read your contract. Read your contract. Because once they get you out there on that road, you're all theirs. They're all there. Warner said that they are able to graduate about 6,500 student drivers per year through partnership with Roadmaster Driver School, and that these new drivers used to be issued a temporary CDL upon completion of the CDL skills test, which the company says made it possible for Werner immediately designated a new driver as on duty and direct him or her to the state of domicile to obtain CDL documentation without entering a second driver into on duty status. This is in turn translated into immediate productive freight movement for Warner, meaning productive freight movement, meaning money, and compensation for the new driver. Compensation meaning the driver gets to make money immediately. Warner gets to make money immediately. See, that's where I was confused, because once you pass the skills test and I'm thinking somewhere else. Once you pass the skills test at the DOT office, you are officially a CDLA holder, and you can drive, because now you have the paper that says you are a CDL holder. But see, from what I'm reading for this, it says when Warner filed the exemption, the company pointed to General. Warner said that they are able to graduate 6,500 students a year because they partnered with Roadmaster Driver School, which is the school, and that these new drivers used to be issued a temporary CDL upon completion of a CDL skills test. Who issues you a temporary CDL? Either you have a CDL or you don't. Your temporary CDL is a commercial learner's permit. That's the temporary CDL until you pass the skills test at a DMV office, in which when you pass it, you get a CDL license that says that you are official. Now, what they're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, y'all can leave it in the chat after the broadcast or whatever, but what they're saying is, once these drivers come out of this Roadmaster School, they pass the Roadmaster School skill test, and the school say, you ready to go take your skills test at the DMV. Why not go straight and take the test instead of get a temporary? Who issues a temporary CDL? You still have a CLP. I never knew the DMV issued a temporary CDL. I never knew that. Is that right? Which the company said made it possible for Warner to immediately designate a new driver as on duty. So that's where the exemption come in at. Because they got a temporary CDL. And I don't know when they're going to go back to the 90 days, but I think it's still 6 months. That when you get your CDL, your CLP, you have, first it was 90 days before a pandemic. Once the pandemic hit, they gave you 6 months because you had to schedule, right, to go in and do your behind the wheel test. So now what you're saying is you're exempt because they went through this driving school and they gave them a temporary CDL that is not recognized by any state official, state policing service. But because you guys have that 5-year exemption, they can drive with that temporary CDL for anywhere from 3 to 6 months, 90 days to 6 months. And then once that time is up, they can go in and do their skills test at the DMV and then get a permit. Why would you even go through all of that? If you got a temporary CD, that's the purpose of a driving school. It's to tell you, hey man, you ready. You can pass this test. Go get your license. Right? And you go to the DMV and say, hey, I want to set up my driving test. But they get, with the 5-year exemption, what happens is those temporary CDL holders, those commercial driver license holders, permit holders, they get to drive across the state. They get to drive around the city. They get to drive around the country for 90 days to 6 months and sharpen their skills. And then before that time is up, they get to go in there and take the DMV, take the test at the DMV. That's how I read it. That's how I read it. That little section there. But let's read on, because I could be wrong. Let's read on. It says a temporary CDL is no longer issued. Okay. Forcing Warner, prior to the exemption, to choose either to wait for the new driver to obtain a CDL from his or her home state before commencing freight movement in an on-duty status, or send the new driver home in an unproductive non-driving capacity. So they're trying to maximize their dollars because they've sent this driver somewhere to be trained, and they're trying to put him on the road as soon as possible. They said it was about money. They trying to get him to move freight as soon as possible. Once again, not putting public safety first. They're allowing them to put a CLP driver in the seat for 90 days to 6 months before he gets back home to take him his seat. See, now that's gonna you know what that's gonna do? That's gonna drive everybody to Warner. That's gonna drive everybody to Warner Enterprise because they have the exemption. Oh, I can go to Warner and I can get my CLP, and after I get my CLP, I got time to brush up on my skills a little more and get out there and get some experience, and then I can go back to the DMV and take my test. That's basically what it says. Let's read a little bit more. Warner argued that this is downtime because a host of problems, including exacerbating costs and inefficiency problems of the carrier. Once again, when did FMCSA care about a company's bottom line? Oh, I know when you got an interest in that company. See, they don't have an interest in owner operators. They don't have an interest in small time 10, 15 truck, 20 truck operating businesses. They don't have an interest in that. But they have an interest in a big name company. And I'm not shooting at Warner. I heard Warner is a good company. But right is right. Right is right. Now, because you got that exemption, now you leap over all the other companies that don't want to have the exemption, that don't want to take that chance with putting a CLP driver behind the wheel of a vehicle, all because they passed the skill test at a driving school. You're saying because you got a driver out of Houston that's in Wisconsin that then took your course, and now because you don't want to fly them home and have them go in and take their test at the DMV, which might take a couple of days, and let them get their license. And when they get their CDLA paper, they can come back to wherever you want them to. You don't want to spend the money, but you want to put the public in harm's way by putting a CLP driver behind the wheel. Everything about money. Because you're ready for him or her to move that freight. It's all about money. In response to any questions over the safety of the proposed exemption, Werner argues that there is no material difference between these drivers and all other professional truck drivers on the road. In fact, Werner notes that by allowing a CLP holder who has passed the CLD skills test to drive en route to a state of domicile with a CDL holder present in the vehicle, the exemption will improve safety over current regulations. Werner notes that by allowing a CLP holder who has passed the CDL test to drive en route to a state of domicile with a CDL holder present in the vehicle, this exemption will improve safety over current regulations, which allow the new CDL holder to drive unsupervised immediately after receiving his or her CDL documentation. See, that's a contradiction in itself. Why apply for an exemption if allowing a CDL holder who has passed, a CLP holder who has passed the CDL skills test to drive en route to a state of its domicile with a CDL holder present in the vehicle? See, maybe the CDL holder had to be in the seat, but now he could be in the back. He in the truck, but he can be in the back, off duty, making his break. See, that's what I'm reading here. So if you're in Wisconsin and we're bringing freight down from Wisconsin to Houston, now instead of me as the CDLA holder, instead of me having to have to drive the whole time and being in the passenger seat while, even though I'm not driving, I'm still on duty. So all of that time still counts, even though I'm not driving. Okay, so let me clear this up for some of y'all. As a CDL holder, I start on duty. I'm driving. I drive my 11 hours. I'm out of drive time. I can no longer move. Now to stop, you got two truck drivers in the truck. You have one CDL holder and you have one CLP holder. So when you're driving, a CLP holder can't move the vehicle unless a CDLA holder is in the passenger seat on duty as well. If I've ran out of time, if I ran out of drive time, but I still have 3 hours of on duty time, now that CLP driver can only drive 3 hours after I've completed my on duty driving time, because 3 hours with 3 and 11 is 14. You can only work 14 hours in a day. So now what the exemption does is this. What the exemption does is this. And when I dug into the article, I'm not completely against it, but I'm completely against it because now, they're playing the field, because now they're just worried about making sure he get back home and get his CDL when you could fly that guy back home. You don't want to spend money to fly him home when you flew him up there, but you don't want to fly him back because you want to make money. Okay. Now I'm not now this makes more sense. Instead of the CDL holder having to be in the passenger seat while the CLP holder is driving, now he can be in sleeper berth, or he can be off duty in the cab, in the back, sleeping, resting, off duty, while the CLP driver is on duty driving. He has 11 hours to drive. Now, where it may take two and a half days to get from Wisconsin to Houston, now it only takes 1 day, because now you have two drivers that can drive a total of 22 hours. You get it? Now the CLP driver can drive alone in the driver's truck, not alone in the truck, alone in the driver's seat, without the CDL holder to be in the passenger. The CDL holder now can now go off duty driving. Off duty sleeper berth, whichever one he wants. He can go to sleeper berth or he can go to off duty and recoup his 10 hours of rest that is required for you to have. Now the CLP driver is driving. So what's going to happen is nobody's going to do a whole stint or rest for a whole. They're going to work it out to where it's going to be the 8 and the 2 or 2 and the 8, and then with your 30-minute break being calculated into, because that counts towards your rest also, because you got to take a 30-minute break before 8 hours. So all of that time is going to work out to where they'll be driving. One's going to be in sleeper berth off duty. One's going to be driving. One's going to be in sleeper work, and they'll make it to wherever they need to be. I understand what they're saying now. I'm in total agreement with that, because now the CLP driver is not in the truck by himself. Because if you're thinking about a day cab, you're thinking about, okay, how could that be? No, a CLP driver cannot operate a motor vehicle, a CMV, a commercial motor vehicle, without a CDL holder in the truck. So now he's in the truck. But for all of you who didn't know, just because you got a CLP, that driver still needs to be in the driver's seat if you're not under the exemption such as Warner. So don't get caught. If a CLP driver is driving your truck and you're in the cab and you pull up to a chicken coop, which is a wait station, if you pull up and they see him in there and they ask for his license and all he has is that CLP, and they ask where's the CDL holder, oh, he in the back, that's a ticket, because he's supposed to be in that driver's seat. But see, Warner has gotten an exemption. That doesn't happen. That doesn't have to happen. So now it makes sense. Okay. Grant. Exemption granted. I understand now. But at the end of the day, I think Warner still should fly that driver home, give him some home time, let him get his license, pass that test in a week. And then once he gets that paper, then they can put him on the road. But see, Warner is known for having team drivers. And because they run teams, this exemption will help them maximize their team. I never liked team. So I'm going to finish this off with this. The Owner-Operator Independent Association, OIDA, issued a public comment arguing that the exemption could be detrimental to public safety. Warner's exemption request fails to explain how the CLP holder will be adequately monitored if the CDL holder is not in the passenger seat. The inexperienced CLP holder does not yet meet the necessary standards to drive by themselves and therefore should not be operating a vehicle on the road without supervision. Werner erroneously claims that there is no material difference between these drivers and all other professional truck drivers on the road. The assertion ignores the fact that well-trained, more experienced drivers have better safety records. Now, with that, I can say that you have drivers that have been driving for 30 years having accidents. You have drivers that have been driving 20 years having accidents, that have bad habits. Sometimes I catch myself doing a bad habit on the road. They consider a professional driver someone that has over 5 years, 5 years of experience with no accidents or little to minimal accidents. They're not worried about the tickets because we know how that goes. But professional drivers are based on experience. This industry is based on experience. You get your pay based on experience. You get your knowledge. You get everything based on experience. And so that's where OOIDA is going with it. That CLP holder is not a professional driver. That CDL holder is basically a truck driver. Once you get your CDLA, you are just considered a truck driver. You are not considered a professional driver until you get your experience up. That's just how it is. You're considered a truck driver, not a professional driver. But I understand it's a money thing, and Warner wants to. The first thing is with their rule, it's gonna attract more of the drivers. It's gonna attract more CDL holders or CLP holders or guys who are trying to get their CDL. It's gonna attract them to the company. But I'm telling you now, read your contract. Read your contract. I could never do teams because I can't sleep while somebody else is driving my truck or driving the truck. I can't do it. I can't sleep in the back. I don't care how long you've been driving. Well, I probably could do it with a couple of people that I'm cool with and that I know. I probably could do it with them, but I cannot do it with anybody else. Not a CLP holder. I could not do it. Warner, y'all better than me. Those trainers down there, y'all better than me. Any guy who has a CLP holder in a Warner truck, y'all better than me. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I couldn't sleep well. I'd be tossing and turning. I'd be trying to figure out what was going on. Why you hit the brakes? I'd be looking at that curtain every few minutes. I could not do it. I could barely sleep in the truck when it's not moving. How am I going to sleep in the truck when it's moving? I couldn't do it. But on the business side of it, it makes plenty of sense. It makes plenty of sense on the business side of it. Because now I can maximize these drive hours, this drive time. That truck will steady be rolling. It will steady be moving if they operate the ELDT the way it's supposed to be operated. At 7.5 hours, I'll pull out and go off duty. Because what that does is I'll take a 2-hour break. What that does is it satisfies the 30 minutes the 30-minute break you have to take before 8 hours, and then the 2 hours that I'm off duty will be calculated into the 8 hours I have to do on the other side of it, or either I'll do 8 hours or I'll either do 2 in the 8 or 8 in the 2. And that CLP holder, he do the same. And that truck will steady be moving. It'll steady keep moving. It'll steady keep moving. But Ida said it best. Ida said it best, in my opinion. In my opinion, Ida said it best. The warranty exemption request fails to explain how the CLP holder will be adequately monitored if the CDL holder is not in the passenger seat. Because I'm gonna tell you what, as a CLP holder, I'm telling you, you gonna that CDLA in the back of that cab, he's not gonna be asleep. He's not gonna get proper rest. I guarantee you. He's gonna be fatigued. He's going to be fatigued. You could say no, I don't think so, all you want to. But I'm gonna tell you, if it was me, I couldn't do it. And a lot of them trainers probably not gonna do it. A lot of them. I don't see why you just don't spend the money, send those guys back to their home domicile, let them take this DMV, go to the DMV, take their test, and then just move on. I don't understand why. I don't understand it. But guess what? It's all about money. It's not for me to understand, but I do understand that. It's all about money. You got to make money. But that I've dug into that. I gave you guys a little bit of insight on that. Everything I said is just strictly my opinion. It doesn't reflect anybody or anything that's associated with it. It's just strictly my opinion because this is a transportation podcast. So I have been your host, Mr. James Roberts. I went over my time because I attacked those two subjects. I hope you guys see this podcast and say, hey, I got something there. Remember, Roberts TLA. Roberts TLA is where you can go to if you want to become a dispatcher, broker, want to know about transportation. If you want to get in contact with me to talk about, whatever it is you need to talk about something you heard on the podcast. You ask me to go deeper, you know what I'm saying, whatever. Say, hey, man, can we talk about this? Can you research this? And so we talk about that. Yes, I can. You guys can reach me through that on Roberts TLA or just email me at freighttrappingpodcast@gmail.com. At freighttrapping@gmail.com. You guys can email me there. Hey man, I hope you guys have had and all of those websites are in the description. You can just go in there. I hope you guys have a good night, blessed rest of your week. Have a blessed week. Be safe. Get home the way you came. Get back the way you left. And make sure you take care of everybody on that road, man. And most of all, take care of yourself. I have been Mr. James Roberts, and we are gone.